In midst of all this, student athletes at Carolina have been under a dark cloud for more than 4 years, and the NCAA could issue sanctions related to 18 years of academic fraud within just a few weeks, unless those new rules come into effect beforehand. I talked with one UNC athlete who has felt the impact of the scandal in the classroom.
Water bottles, jackets, tennis shoes. They're what help identify the student athletes among us. But some athletes would rather blend in with their classmates.
I just really tried to refrain from wearing anything that would show him that I was a student athlete.
Junior Sophie McCoy plays lacrosse. The Weinstein report about the scandal didn't mention her team, but McCoy still felt uncertain about wearing her UNC athletics gear to class after hearing her professor make negative comments.
Mentioned a lot of things about the athletic scandal that occurred and how he kind of had this idea about athletes being cheaters and not true students and trying to take shortcuts.
The last class we talked a lot about.
Sports law professor Barbara Osborne was on the faculty athletics committee for 2 terms.
We heard lots of stories, both from student athletes and from faculty, about problems with athletes in classes, or from the student athlete side, that they were being treated differently or being treated unfairly.
Osborne says UNC student athletes have a place and purpose on campus.
Everyone has a different reason for coming to Carolina, and everyone has a different reason for choosing the classes that they choose to take. And for that reason, everybody needs to be treated the same.
McCoy does all she can to distinguish herself as a student.
I'll sit in the front row of the classroom so the teacher doesn't think I'm in the back kind of goofing off. I always make sure to introduce myself to the professors so they can put a face to my name.
Once her English professor found out she was an athlete, McCoy said he didn't treat her any differently.
I had proven myself as a really good student early on in the classroom that it didn't cause him to think back on anything and think less of me as a student at that point.
Experts have been all over the place in regard to the punishments UNC might face, from a hefty fine and nothing more to banners coming down in the Smith Center. Now, moving on to other NCAA news, the College Sports Research Institute is questioning the NCAA's report that Division I student athletes are graduating at a higher rate than ever. Look at this graph behind me from the NCAA. The blue line right here shows that the graduation success rate for Division I student athletes is on the rise, and that student athletes graduate at a higher rate than all students according to the federal graduation rate. The College Sports Research Institute is challenging these findings, saying men's and women's basketball players do not graduate at rates comparable to other full-time students. This second graph is directly from the CSRI's 2016 report. It shows that the adjusted graduation gap, or AGG, is increasing. That means that the graduation gap between the student athletes and all students is getting worse. You can see that this graph is trending downward, overall dipping further into the negatives, and that this gap between D1 athletes' AGG and major AGG is significant. CSRI says that the NCAA uses faulty measurement systems and that the NCAA, well, they stand by their numbers.